Yeva and I decided to relocate to Portugal just after we got married. She would be studying abroad, and I'd be writing music and performing shows, which really meant drinking unsafe amounts of wine, whizzing around on our bikes, and goofing off on the beach. One of the biggest first impressions I had about Portugal was how old it is. We lived in a small city called Viso, just east of Porto and 4 hours north of Lisbon. To get to our flat, you had to walk through cobblestone streets no wider than a Fiat. Portugal is one of the oldest countries in Europe, and Viso's origins date back to the 5th century. The church next to our apartment was built in the 12th century. My American brain just couldn't fathom such ancientness. I'm not a huge history buff, but it was actually pretty fascinating. All this ancient stuff standing here and functioning today. I paced through our new home city in awe as traditional folk music known as fado echoed through the medieval alleyways. Warm breezes carrying intense aromas of cheese and fish, chorizo, spilled beer, and espresso followed me through our fascinating new hideout. The first thing I'm excited about when I get to a new country is to experience the nature and the food. The food was a fail for me. I don't eat meat. All Portuguese food is meat, usually served with a side of white rice and French fries. However, the wine was top-notch, and so was the nature. We took to the coziest ancient forests of Jedish, once occupied by Romans, and set up our own restaurant. Our trusty standby wine for the spring was Cabrige, a full-bodied red wine from the Dow region that retails for about $3. A bottle of wine in the US would sell for about $24 at this quality. It presents an intense ruby color, fruity aroma being predominant in fresh red fruits, wild berries, jam, spices, and toasted notes. The palate is fruity, soft, elegant, and harmonious. In other words, it was wicked fucking good. I played several shows in Viso and surrounding areas. The Portuguese seemed to be fascinated with the folky southern music I was playing. They're very polite audiences. I don't think they had ever heard or seen Americana roots music before, except on TV. I played regularly at my friend's new cafe, Faces, as well as a couple other spots within walking distance of our apartment. Big shout out to you guys down at Faces. Hope business is doing great. Some of the stages I played on were surreal. At Penedra de Sé, I played in the middle of the street on a steep cobblestone hill, cars driving by almost hitting me with their side view mirrors. I kept one leg stretched out to my left to keep from falling off the stool. We were excited to be out of the clouds, out of the rain. It was a long, wet winter in Europe, and I think we went to Portugal mainly to dry off. I bought a couple of piece-of-shit bikes off the internet for a few bucks. Some guy showed up in front of my house in his beat-up van and dropped them off. He didn't speak any English, so I couldn't even negotiate with him. Fortunately, they were cheap. We rode those piece-of-shit bikes all over the place. Down the Eco Pista bike trail, through the cobblestone streets darting in and out of aggressive and angry Portuguese drivers, past the farms, the rolling hills of eucalyptus trees and fields of kale and garlic. Rolling hills covered in grapes as far as the eye could see at times. We ran out the door with a few bottles of wine, a box of food, and a blanket. No plan. We'd sleep on the beaches and in the woods in the back of the Subaru. Gas turned out to be €1.50 per liter, about $6 a gallon, which was painful, but everything else was extremely cheap. People walked by staring in disbelief as we chopped veggies in the back of the Subaru. They were trying to figure out what the hell we were doing and where in God's name LT was after seeing the license plate on the car. The coast was beautiful. Sleeping in the car and drinking wine in public both seemed to be socially acceptable and legal. Everything moves slow in these coastal towns. It's hot, and there's not too much profit in anything, no incentive to hustle. Just kind of going at their own pace. My kind of people. Everywhere we go, my wife manages to make friends. Fuzzy friends. Whenever there's a dog hanging out with an owner, Yeva must say hi. Pick the little guy up, give him a good inspection, and show me that he's cute, and then we're good to go again. No matter how weird, shaggy, or dirty the animal is, he must be greeted. Sometimes she even attempts to take the animal with us. If I weren't there to veto the repossession of strange dogs, I imagine our apartment would be wall-to-wall with critters. Despite its small size, Portugal is a top wine-producing country. In 1756, Douro Valley became the world's first demarcated wine region and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are 200 indigenous grapes in Portugal, more than anywhere else on the planet. Many grapes are grown in Douro Valley, including Touriga Franca, the most widely grown grape, Tinta Roriz, also known as Tempranillo in Spain, and Touriga Nacional, my personal favorite. While the food was not super vegetarian friendly in Portugal, I have no doubt it is a meat and seafood eater's paradise. We were still very inspired to cook elaborate meals, and some of the culinary inspirations we explored were a success. Portugal is a must-visit for a culture-hungry world traveler. Particularly for me, the coast was most impressive. I'll absolutely put this country on my return-to list, if not for the wine and the ancient streets of Nazaré, Aveiro, and Porto, then for the beautiful, awe-inspiring nature. That's gonna do it for this episode of Free, Wild, and Restless. Stay tuned for the next episode where Yeva and I will drive the entire perimeter of Italy, including a ferry to Sicily. Stay wild and free, y'all.
Foi por vontade de Deus.